Back on November 9th, 2018, I published a video unboxing my just-received 6-CD Super Deluxe 50th Anniversary Edition of the Beatles' 1968 self-titled double album. From then on, this was how I was listening to the remix of the White Album. But then a few months prior to creating the video you are watching now, Walmart, of all places, started offering the 2018 4LP box set of the White Album Anniversary Edition for just $49.95.
$49.95.
I'd heard about this deal, but never pulled the trigger. As it turns out, I recently came across several copies still up for offer at a local Walmart for the deeply discounted price, and I was very tempted to buy it on the spot. It was only the recent expenditures for the All Things Must Pass editions I purchased, and my pre-orders for the upcoming Let It Be releases that made me choose to forego this purchase altogether. As disappointed as I was to walk away, I made a conscious effort not to allow my Beatles collection to interfere with priorities and important financial goals. Sometimes you gotta be a big boy.
Big boy.
Fast forward a bit, and I recently became engaged to my wonderful girlfriend. My now fiancée, knowing how much I wanted the item and being the awesome person she is, picked this up for me as an engagement gift.
I can see I'm going to have to be the frugal one in our family.
She took the ring, I took the Beatles 4LP box set.
I don't know.
You tell me who got the better deal. The Beatles Anniversary 4LP Edition is a beautiful vinyl box set containing new stereo mixes of the original album by Giles Martin, as well as an additional 2 LPs featuring the ESHER demos. More about those further on. I've wanted a copy of the White Album on vinyl for quite a while, as the only copy I've had in my possession has been a very beat-up original US pressing, missing LP2 and the inserts. Sadly, the half of the album that has survived the test of time does not include the previous owner's favorite song, Savoy Truffle.
That wouldn't do.
Moreover, having lived with the ESHER demos for the past several years, I felt I'd really appreciate having them on vinyl. Now normally I couldn't care less about having alternate takes and other extras on vinyl. I prefer digital versions of these tracks so I can skip around more easily. However, the ESHER demos are a whole other animal. Well worth repeat listening as an album experience. This only added to my desire for the 4LP edition of the White Album. Let's take a magical mystery mic closer look. The box itself is sturdy and well made, with a glossy finish. The dimensions run about 12.5 inches square with a depth of about an inch. Here's a close-up view of the hype sticker, unfortunately somewhat obscured by the Walmart price sticker. It was not possible to remove that without damage to the hype sticker, so I left it alone. The right and left sides of the box feature the title, the Beatles, and ESHER demos. The back of the box outlines the complete track listing. The original album first, followed by the listing of the ESHER demos. Also included is pertinent information, including copyright, trademark, and licensing information. This box set was made in Germany, with the vinyl pressed by the German media manufacturer Optimal Media. Let me slice into this shrink wrap so we can get a look inside this box. Okay, I managed to maintain the integrity of the shrink on the front of the box, at least for now. This box is designed as a lift top, so I will lift away the top to reveal the contents. While the Super Deluxe CD box set included a magnificent 164-page hardbound book, this box set includes only a heavy cardstock bifold insert. This includes some nice photos, a fairly weak write-up by Paul McCartney, an introduction by Giles Martin, and 2 essays by highly respected Beatles historian Kevin Howlett. While a nice insert, compared to the book included with the CDs, this is really quite feeble. I'm delighted to see that with the upcoming special edition releases of Let It Be, the full contents of the book being released with the Super Deluxe CD edition will also be included with a Super Deluxe LP edition. Beatles offerings continue getting better all the time. Next up in the box, this is the 2LP album proper. It is identical to what you'd be getting if you purchased a standalone 2LP version. While not an authentic reproduction of the original UK packaging, it's a nice approximation. The all-white glossy cover is adorned with the embossed title, The Beatles. While the original 2LP packaging included a serial number, as did the 6-CD Super Deluxe version, there is none on this LP version. This is a bit unfortunate, as having that individual serial number would have added a little something special. The title is printed on the upper end of the album spine, while Stereo Anniversary Edition is printed on the lower end of the spine. Of course, this is a gatefold sleeve, with the track listing on the left panel, and black and white versions of the individual portraits of the band members on the right panel. The records in this Anniversary Edition are not top-loaded as was the original, but are accessible from the side, and therefore the album jacket design differs from the UK original in that the original featured fold-over flaps on the sides. Each LP is housed in a poly-lined black paper sleeve. Here's the first LP, pressed on 180-gram heavyweight vinyl. This is absolutely pristine vinyl. Very clean, just beautiful. Vinyl doesn't get much better than this. The record label features the green apple logo on side 1 and the cut apple on side 2. What an iconic label design. When comparing labels, the original US pressing, seen here on the left, does present as lighter than the 2018 edition. The dead wax indicates the 2018 vinyl was mastered at half speed by engineer Miles Schoell in room 30 of Abbey Road Studios. Here is the additional matrix runout information included on the vinyl. Giving this record a spin, there's an ever so slight warp, but it does not affect play at all. The remix by Giles Martin was sourced directly from the original 4-track and 8-track sessions tapes. Regardless of whether or not you're a fan of this remix, these records play whisper quiet, and the sound is crisp and clear. I've enjoyed revisiting this 2018 remix. I'm a fan of this remix. I'm in favor of remixing the Beatles albums in general. My feelings are best summed up by this quote by Mark Smotroff from an audiophile review article I've linked in the description, titled The Beatles White Album 50th Anniversary Edition Review. For those of you who feel that remixing something as sacred as a Beatles recording is a bad thing, please remember that the original will always be the definitive mix. This is simply a new way to appreciate your favorites, and it helps to preserve this music for the future before the tapes deteriorate and can't be salvaged.
Yes. Indeed.
Moving on, the back of the gatefold contains LP2, as well as the band portraits. These prints are stunning quality. Here's John, Paul, George, and Ringo. I don't want to overuse the word iconic, but come on now. Eh? Here's the second LP. The label design from LP1 is repeated. Side 3 with the whole apple. Side 4 with the cut apple. Again, I'll comment on just how spectacular this vinyl is. I'm so pleased to finally have this LP edition. As it was on the original stereo album, the back of the LP jacket is plain white, but for the stereo demarcation in the upper right-hand corner. Next in the box is what really makes this 4LP set worthwhile, the ESHER demos. These recordings have been widely bootlegged long prior to this release. Years ago, I myself, not a big fan of bootlegs, purchased this CD copy of the ESHER Demos, titled Kin Fon's The Acoustic White Album. Never has this complete set of recordings been available in the sound quality now presented. In 1968, the Beatles experienced a prolific period of songwriting while in Rishikesh, India, studying transcendental meditation with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. In May of 1968, before the start of the studio sessions that would produce the White Album, the Beatles gathered at George Harrison's house, Kin Fon's, in Esher, an outlying suburb of London.
London where? London, England.
Thus the ESHER Demos tag, in case you were wondering. And just to clarify, it's absolutely pronounced ESHER and not Esher, as I'm sure my Beatle brothers across the pond can attest. These demo recordings were thankfully captured on George Harrison's 4-track Ampex reel-to-reel tape recorder. Kevin Howlett very elegantly sums up the ESHER Demos in the following excerpt from his liner notes. The irresistible charm of the ESHER Demos is that they capture the Beatles at home, relaxed and playful, enjoying showcasing their recent songs for each other with only acoustic instruments to hand. The musical spectrum spans the emotions from deeply personal performances of ballads to rollicking sing-alongs. These demo LPs are presented similar to the original album. The plain white gatefold record sleeve with embossed title is repeated. The bottom right corner identifies it as being the ESHER Demos, in approximately the same spot as the original album listed the serial number. The top of the record spine repeats the Beatles title, while the bottom indicates stereo, and again identifies this as being the ESHER Demos. The gatefold also mimics the original album design. The track listing is provided on the left panel. These demos are sequenced somewhat in the order they appear on the original album. Not all tracks from the album were demoed, so it's not an exact match, but I appreciate this approach for the listening experience it creates. 19 of the 30 tracks that appear on the White Album are featured here in demo form. The additional 8 of 27 tracks demoed in 1968 that did not appear on the White Album would mostly end up on subsequent Beatles or solo album projects. Junk was to be included on Paul McCartney's debut solo album. John Lennon's Child of Nature was recycled into the far superior Jealous Guy for his Imagine album. George Harrison included Circles on his 1982 album Gone Troppo, and Not Guilty was featured on his 1979 self-titled album. Of course, Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam were included on the Beatles' Abbey Road, and a version of What's the New Mary Jane was officially released in 1996 as an inclusion on the Beatles' Anthology 3. Also interesting to note is that the George Harrison song Sour Milk Sea was released in August of 1968 as the debut single of Apple Records artist Jackie Lomax. This version was not only produced by Harrison, but he also played on the track, along with Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr. As if that wasn't astounding enough, Eric Clapton and Nicky Hopkins also appeared on this recording of Sour Milk Sea. Not a bad lineup, Lomax. The right panel of the ESHER Demos gatefold cleverly includes alternate shots of the individual portraits. These were first featured on the back of the slipcase included with the 2009 remastered White Album CD reissue. As the original album LPs are, these demo records are housed in the black poly-lined inner sleeves. I was disappointed to find these sleeves were ripped slightly, but given the heavyweight vinyl, I suppose I shouldn't be too surprised. This edition of the White Album started the trend of using what I believe is the Apple Core Limited acetate label for previously unreleased Apple artist demo recordings. More recently, this label was used for the demo recordings released with the George Harrison All Things Must Pass Super Deluxe editions. The vinyl for the ESHER Demos is as high quality as the standard White Album included in this box set. The sound is fantastic. Having these demos presented this way on vinyl is a real treat. It's the Beatles' White Album.
Unplugged.
Fantastic!
The back of this LP jacket is also blank, with the exception of the indication of stereo in the upper right-hand corner. You may have wondered why I did not show the album poster when giving an overview of the original album. Rather than including the replica 24 by 36 inch fold-out poster within the original album packaging, it is included loose at the bottom of the box. This is the UK version of the poster as it was intended. Lennon's doodle of he and Yoko is complete, and unlike the censored US version of the poster, Paul's pubic hair is visible in this photo, as Paul intended it to be. I don't think manscaping was a thing in 1968. I apologize if this offends the delicate sensibilities of my American audience. Was anyone ever really offended by these inclusions on the poster? As it should be, the reverse side of the poster has the song lyrics. Overall, this is an excellent box set. I suppose if this edition was released in 2021, it would likely be a Super Deluxe 8 LP set, complete with all the studio outtakes included in the Super Deluxe CD set, as well as the full hardbound book. Alas, this 4 LP set is what was offered in 2018, and I will treasure it for what it is. For $50, you can't go wrong. And if you can receive it as a gift of love, take it, brother, and may it serve you well. And fade to white.